Hey, good afternoon, good morning. It's 12 noon here on the East Coast, Sunday, and I just wanted to record a Hangout just with me and going over my thinking and reaction to yesterday's Hangout with Chris, and looking forward to our next one. I can tell you, I am perplexed and bewildered by Chris and his experience as a surveyor, coupled with his flat Earth beliefs. So I'm a bit fascinated by this, and I'm trying to learn more about how he reaches these conclusions. And let's see, we have one viewer just joining. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Yeah, I don't have the chat open, so I'm sorry. I'm not gonna be able to monitor that right now. I hope to learn to be able to do that. I've got a lot going on the screen. There's a lot of stuff I want to present. So at some point, I will definitely pay attention to the chat. So forgive me right now. Let's see. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen now. And as I said, you know what? Maybe I should go look at the chat just to make sure that you are seeing what I'm showing you. I already made that mistake once. Oh, maybe this is easier than I thought. Oh, no. That's not the one. Oh, I know what I need to do. I have to go to my channel. And then maybe I'll see what's happening right now. Yeah, here we go. So here it is. Let's turn that volume down so I don't get that feedback. There. So I guess I can watch it that way. All right. There's nobody here now. There was somebody, and now there's not. So what I want to go through are some of the things I thought of this morning when I was thinking about our Hangout yesterday. It seemed like I had a lot of tabs open, just as I do now. I wanted to present a lot of the topics. Oh, good. Hey, good morning, guys. So I had a lot of tabs open. I did see comments yesterday. It jumped around a bit. I get that. If we continue these conversations, maybe we'll be able to delve into each one of these things separately. The Hangout we had yesterday kind of ended with GPS. We were really focused on GPS a lot. So what I'm going to do here is just record my reactions to that. I did encourage him to go look at this video that I made. And, the questions are, I mean, he showed a video of them inside a building picking up satellites. Yeah, so what? He's got to flush that out. And so we said that the next Hangout, he'll be prepared to show us more about that. My questions will be then and are now, how do they show all these satellites? And Chris did say he recognizes that the satellites are being shown on the screen with their elevation and their azimuth, and you can watch them changing through the day. And then in my test, you'll watch me.
It beeps to warn you that it has insufficient number of satellites to compute the position.
I did a test out in a remote area where there was no cell signal, and maybe I'll pull this off as its own thing. Let's see. Oh, wait. Can I detach this? Aha! Making progress, people. Look at that. All right. So I did figure out how to do it on the fly. Okay. So anyway, I'll get to that in a second. In this video, I'm out at a remote location. There's no cell signal. And I'm showing you how just by covering the receiver up with a steel shovel causes all the satellites to disappear. And then you take the shovel off and they come back. So, you know, there's some explaining to do there. So I hope we'll cover some of that. I did tell him that the locations, the actual coordinates of the satellites are given in the ephemeris file. It's the way we compute the position of the satellite so that we can then perform the trilateration. It's a distance measurement, not angular. It's distance intersections that give us our position on Earth. So that's it. That's the only reason I had this up. I wanted to just cover that. See if anybody has questions. Hey, I'm getting some applause. Thanks, Dare Todd. And there's more. I mean, we could delve into GPS in a lot of ways, but that's a basic, simple one. You know, at the user's end. In other words, you don't have to delve into the deep background of it. This is just what you're seeing on your end. Now, this one, I was surprised. You know, I showed him this, and you know, it's clear to me what this is showing. And he invoked the flat Earth precept perspective. And what I want to do right now is kind of talk about perspective a bit and really explain how perspective works in surveying. And the fact is, we actually measure perspective. Let's see what I have open to do that. Yeah, in other words, the flat earthers say things in the distance shrink. Well, they don't shrink. They just look smaller. And, you know, I showed him that I was closer to the building. I mean, if perspective is a real thing that is going to hamper or cause measurements to be flawed, then these measurements are flawed also. But he did accept that I was able to triangulate and locate the building. So these measurements are okay. So are these. So is this. It's further away. The measurements are still valid. It's up to him to show what the difference is. Let's, you know, if we can cover this topic again. Why is this okay? Why is this not okay? Okay. And now I do have a little video I want to show you from a friend I've made on YouTube. Larry Scott made this for me. This is pretty cool. Check this out. I'm going to play that again. I want to pause it. So what do we have? We've got these bollards, red, you know, protective bollards at a parking lot in front of some stores. They're all the same size. Of course, they look smaller the further away you get. Anybody watching right now can think of lots of flat Earth memes, you know, using this type of an example. Things get smaller in the distance. So, no kidding. If you walk down to the end of that parking lot down there, down that sidewalk, that bullard at the end is the same size as the bullard right here. I mean, they are all the same size. They just look smaller. Now, he's using the app on his phone. It's the Adelaide app. And he's doing the best he can to keep the horizontal reference near zero. It's not easy to do, but he's getting it done. He's moving across here, And he's showing you that the height above is the same. So watch, let's watch that again. And so the fact is that these are all pretty much set at the same height. Okay, looks pretty flat here. And this gives you an indication of what it's like with surveying. The fact is that we are measuring horizontal angles and we measure vertical angles, and sometimes we just establish a horizontal reference and do measurements that way. So that right there, to me, dispels this whole perspective issue when it comes to surveying measurements, because we are actually measuring perspective. The other one I have from Larry, which is excellent, is a collection of something called, well, he did some videos for me using his subtense bar. Now, let me see what the chat says right now. Nothing going on there. Okay, now let's talk about what a subtense bar is. This goes back, this is an old piece of equipment, goes back certainly before GPS, and it goes back way before electronic surveying instruments of any kind, including distance measuring equipment, EDMs, which we use all the time now. I mean, that's just commonplace. But in earlier times, we relied on angles only. And the subtense bar, and you'll see when I show you the next video or two, we're going to get closer up to it. You'll see what it looks like. It is a precisely made piece of equipment, and the distance between these two targets on either end of the bar, that distance is known to submillimeter. It's a calibrated bar. And so by knowing that length and being able to measure the angle from one end to the other, we can compute our distance to where we are using trigonometry. And so in a sense, you're saying, I'm measuring the perspective because the bar looks small, far away, but it's not small. It's the same size. And so we're relying on the size of that bar and our ability to measure this angle from one end to the other very precisely. So here we are. He did show me in an email how far away he was, but he took several of these videos. One is like at about 40 feet away, then 20 feet away, 10 feet away. Very similar to the video I made. If you ever want to look at the video I made called a Flat Earth Perspective Tutorial, I did a very similar thing just using two survey targets, one here and one here. I don't own a subtense bar. So I just set two targets 2 meters apart, the best I could, and then measured those angles at about 50 feet away, then a couple of 100 feet away, and further, and just showing that the distance between the targets remains the same. Also, the vertical distance. One target was low, and one target was a little higher. But anyway, let's look at these. All right. And again, this is just a simulation using the Theodolite app to give you an indication of what it's like to use a surveying instrument measuring the angle from one end of the bar to the other. And in this case, we had about, let's say 9 degrees or thereabouts. Now let's look at the next one. Let's see here. You can make 3D apps. Yeah, Walter, I want to, oh, shoot. I'm going to open his page. I meant to do that. I got to go find that because I wanted to talk about what Walter did with this. And tell you what, no time like the present, right? Let me do that. I know I have that link saved somewhere. I'll just say Walter Bislin. Philadelphia, yeah. Here it is. Oh, no, that's a different one. I'm going to go to Walter's, but I want to show people this one too. Whoever maintains this blog, they did this. They never contacted me. They did this on their own. They used what I had posted, and they do their own analysis. And, people can check that out. Flat Earth Insanity. You can see he just analyzed my photographs. But anyway, let's look at Walter. Let's see. I don't know how to find it. It's buried in here. Somebody have the link? No, Chris is not in this Hangout, guys. This is just me. This is just me going over my thoughts of our Hangout yesterday and proposing, what we're going to discuss the next time we meet. That's it. And this shouldn't be too long. All right, I'm trying to find Walter Bislin doing the Philadelphia thing. Apple Pie Hill, I'll say. I think I posted it in my own group. Let's go look there. Yeah, here it is. So he made a model of this, and I'm glad. Who was it? Who said so? Der Todd said, "I'm glad you reminded me of this. I want to make sure that Chris is aware of this, and for when we get around to discussing this in more detail, this whole perspective issue." Anyway, awesome site. What Walter's doing there. All right, back to the thoughts that I had from yesterday. Again, I wanted to delve into, and he should be able to discuss boundary surveying, the laying out of these lines, setting all these markers as state boundary markers and borders between countries. These are being surveyed. Now, he invoked I couldn't believe it, the Gleason map. Okay, so I did a little exploring into the Gleason map before. I did some more again this morning, and I've downloaded some nice PDFs of it. And but then I thought, well, what about, I kept seeing things about in the patent. So I looked up the patent. What do you know? It's a map. What are maps? They're projections from the globe Earth. And, it's clearly stating that here. So the Gleason map is an AE projection, equal area, equal azimuthal projection. And you can take that projection and center it anywhere. In this case, on his map, he centers it on the North Pole. You could center it on the South Pole. You could center it on Manhattan. It's just a map. And when you say flat Earth map, realize you're being redundant. Maps are flat, and the Earth is not. So we don't need to say flat Earth map, because the map is flat, and it's a projection from curved surface, and all the math is there, to do that. So, I mean, he didn't just take crayons and draw this thing, you know. He had to project the locations of these latitudes and longitudes onto a mapping projection surface that is defined mathematically. Here's the PDF of that patent. So people should take a look at that. And let's see. Okay, now, all right, we're done with this one too. Let me check the chat. All right, see you later, Jared. I got to get a haircut today too. The next thing he brought up was this Long's Peak that he could see from here. We honed in on a discussion here. He mentioned that he could see this mountain range, Long's Peak, Mount Meeker, Twin Sisters. These were several of the mountains he mentioned that they could be seen from. Oh, I keep doing that. From up here at the northeast corner of Colorado. And the next thing he did is he went to the Metabunk calculator, and he input a height of 6 feet here. And I was glad that someone put in the comments, and John let me know that, you know, there's an elevation here. You know, you can't just say 6 feet. You know, you're at elevation, 3,400 here or so, 3,600 feet. So that's about the time I went and looked up these geodetic markers. We found this very cool one. It is the marker for the northeast corner of Colorado. And I have the pictures of that. So there's one. I'll start closing these tabs. This is a really neat marker, marking the northeast corner of Colorado. And it's in the, and there's the disk set in 1933, reset 1978. And it's close enough, and I'll get to the Metabunk in a second here. It's close enough to where he said he was, in a town called Big Springs. So he said that it was like near here that he could see Long's Peak. He said at the break of 78 and 76. Well, you know, anywhere here. I don't know where you want to, but I think the thing to do here is come here and set up the theodolite and set it horizontally and just look through it and see where the horizontal reference is in relation to those mountains. Now, because I'm not there and I didn't go there, I just took this marker, so I downloaded this data sheet for the northeast corner Colorado reset. It has latitude and longitude on it. Also has its elevation. So, and you know, I use these because, especially in a conversation with Chris, who's a surveyor, you should recognize that somebody has been here before us. These peaks, these elevations have been determined not by guessing, but by measuring. And the measurements are geodetic triangulation. That's how we know how high these are. Unless these guys are ready to throw all that out and say, nope, we don't know how high anything is anymore. And we don't know where anything is. We have no idea. I mean, you may as well go ahead and say that. I mean, that's my reaction to it. Anyway, I also went and got a couple of these markers, and I've put them in to my software. And I've got the triangulation diagram for Colorado in here. And I also put Nebraska in here because I wasn't quite sure where he was. But it turns out we're still in Colorado. And here's Long Peak. And so he's saying he could see these mountains from over there, and therefore the Earth is flat. And I'm not saying that. I'm saying, all right, you can see it. So what? Why, you know, if you come up here to Long's Peak, why can't you see all the way to, you know, Washington Monument in Washington, D.C., or the Empire State Building in New York City, or the Sears Tower in Chicago? I mean, of course, they always have an answer for everything. It's distortion, you know, it's beyond the vanishing point. It's silliness. It's not valid. Anyway, I computed the curvature here between here and there. Also, while I'm in here, I just want to point out that, you know, I was surprised that he didn't even know about this type of triangulation. And the Bilby steel towers, I had to show him that. He didn't know that this is how it's done, or was back in those days. This was kind of new to him. He wasn't aware of it. So this is how the triangulation took place. Think about it. This is an immense amount of work, a huge undertaking, and it should be recognized. I mean, you just can't dismiss this. You know, this is good stuff, and you know, you need to respect it. It's how things were done, and every single one of these points you see here was occupied to measure these angles. You had to get to that point. Of course, you don't build a tower up on a mountain. You build the towers on in the lower areas to see further. And as far as seeing far on that topic, look at Pikes Peak here. There it is, Pikes Peak. Pikes Peak, they saw all the way across to Mount Elbert. And from Mount Elbert, they saw all the way to Mount Ouray. And from Ouray, they could see to Pikes Peak. So those are some pretty long lines. That doesn't make me think the Earth is flat. It makes me think that these are very high mountains, and they could see from one to the other. Right? See what's happening in the chat. Oh, Larry's in here. Hey, Larry. Nice to see you. Larry, thank you so much for the videos you sent me. That was all in preparation for a Hangout that I was going to be doing with Jaron Campanella. And I had to postpone that. We had a loved one in our family who was hospitalized, and I had to postpone that. And Jaron was very gracious about it. He said, no, you know, family first. So we just have to get back together and pick a date to do that Hangout. And it's going to be much of the same topic you're seeing here. He's another one that does raise the whole perspective issue. And so Larry got me some really good videos of the Subtense bar and those bollards along that storefront. That's all Larry's work, and I appreciate that. And I'm looking forward to meeting up with Larry at some point to go and see the surveying that he's doing. All good stuff. All right, now let me continue with this, and then hopefully this will be a shorter video. We're at half hour in now. Anyway, you get the idea here. and this is the thing I keep harping on, if perspective affects what you're seeing in the distance, then it would invalidate all of this measuring. You can't have it both ways. And it's on Chris or anybody using perspective as some reason to, or as evidence that the Earth is flat. You've got to be able to then show us that. And with Chris being someone who works in the surveying profession, he's got to reconcile that for us. And I hope he'll do that on our next talk. All right, and here's the last thing I'll show you is what I came up with. I put the data in for this monument, northeast corner, Colorado Reset. There's its elevation. There's Long's Peak. Oh, I didn't show you the disk of that. You want to see the disk? Let me show you the disk. Show you the disk here. Oh yeah, and I got more tabs to show you. Sorry about that. I got curious. I said views of Long Peak from Big Springs. You know, that wasn't too helpful. I doubt this is what he's seeing, but maybe he will take a picture for us when the next time he goes up there. Set up that theodolite and take a picture, and let's see where the crosshair is in relation to the mountain that you're looking at off in the distance, which comes back to what I'm about to show you in my calculation. I would like to see if he's going to come up with what I'm seeing. I don't need that one. So the mountain is 10,644 feet above that point at the northeast corner of Colorado. It's about 194 miles away. And the curvature is 2 degrees, 48 minutes, maybe like rounded off to 49 minutes. You know, it's almost 3 degrees of arc between those 2 points. So if this was the northeast corner of Colorado, and you're looking toward those mountains, and like I have in my generic chart, any distant visible object, you know, all right, you could see it. Great. But the drop of the curve has to be measured down from the horizontal tangent plane. And you have to establish this. If you don't, then you can't talk about the drop of the curve. All right, let's see what the Metabunk calculator had to say. Here's the disk up there on top of Long's Peak. And this was taken by a geocacher. That's how I found that. I just went to a geocaching site, and people climb up there and take pictures of these disks. So they are really there. It's for real. Here's Metabunk. So I put in, instead of putting 6 here, I put the elevation plus 6 feet. So the elevation of that survey marker plus 6 feet, it's 194 miles away. I don't really use this calculator much. I don't spend time doing these calculations. It's really not even part of what we do as surveyors. We're out surveying, but this is interesting. I think this is pretty cool. I would like to see, it would be interesting if Mick West would maybe include the height of the object that you're looking at. I don't know, would that be of any value? But again, you've got to establish that plane to be able to calculate the drop. This is a nice tool. Yeah, Larry, it's for sure. I do mention that to people, that the triangulation was done at night. Hey, I don't have many tabs left. I think I might be done. Let's see. Showed you that. Save that. Not much to show you in here. I can get rid of that. Done with that. Let's do some chat. All right, that's a short video. I'm going to wrap it up there. It's 12:36. I started at just about noontime, and I accomplished what I wanted to. Just going over the hangout we had yesterday, thoughts I had this morning, and hopefully where we will pick it up again when we meet. I'm going to do another hangout soon with George Hadniak. You know who I'm talking about, right? You should. Let me show you what George is doing. Definitely check out George's channel. I showed this yesterday in the hangout. Here's George drilling holes in the ice.
Down to the lake to
let's get through here.
Tripods have these spikes at the ends. These surveying tripods have these spikes, and they dig into the ground. There's a sighting hole in that wood piece that the shell sets the actual mark.
Let's see here.
And froze it in place, and then we'll add another 10-foot section on top. You can see ice auger. Now I'm grabbing a chisel here to chisel the pieces out of the hole.
So I really want to go out here. I got to check some plane fare. I want to go out and visit George.
Always trying to lend a hand.
He's on a long frozen lake and using the water surface as his level reference. He's been making targets, and the cool thing about his targets is that he's cut them to the right size. When you look at these targets, he's taken perspective into account so that those targets appear to be the same size the further away they go, the further away you are. Very thoughtful, very methodical approach here. And I just have to come out here and see this for myself and give him a hand. I'm excited about what he's doing. Cool stuff. So everybody should check out and follow George, see what he's doing. And and if I can get out here, I hope to. It's coming up quick. See, he tells me that you got to get out here before the end of March. Otherwise, the lake starts to get soft and you can't go out there anymore. So it's it's March 4th now. I got to figure out how to squeeze this trip in, even if I can just get out there for a day, hopefully 2, and do maybe we'll do a hangout or something and record some video of what he's doing. Great stuff. But again, I want to have a hangout with George and let him present what he's doing out here. All good. So I think I'm going to sign off here. Thanks everybody for coming in and chatting here. And we'll see you next time. Take care.